Guys, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the weekend stream. And how did our last video perform? Oh my god, it was blocked in 248 countries. Thank you so much, YouTube. They blocked the video in 248 countries when there are literally 195 countries on earth. So it means that they literally blocked my video even in some planets in this universe. Anyway, this does not matter, and that does not stop me from making another video. So the video that got blocked was a video in which I talked about the tactics I use in my club. So anyways, so I'm gonna allow me to take this opportunity again to make another video on the tactics that I use in my club. So these are the tactics that I use in my club. Right, so the first thing I have to tell you about my club, because I think you all know, the most important thing in my club are the managers. So I use two managers. One called Nawalka, who has been the manager that I've used the most in the course of this game, and the other one called Gasparini. So the difference I think you can easily tell the difference. Nawalka uses a 4-2-3-1 formation, of which I'm really not a fan of a 4 defender formation, but he has been very phenomenal. And I think I will have to show you the tactical plan, or the tactical masterpiece, and the formation that I use exactly. But for now, we're gonna focus on Gasparini. So how did I tactically assign my formation? So this is the default formation of Gasparini. As you can see there, it's a 3-2-3-2 formation, but I don't use it as a 3-2-3-2 formation. I use it in this way. So what I do is I usually like to rely on one defensive midfielder other than two defensive midfielders, because when you have two defensive midfielders, it means that you're limiting your attacking capabilities. So I like to have a defensive midfielder, a center midfielder, and an attacking midfielder, and at times two central midfielders, because central midfielders are quite much more of utility players. They can play both in attack and defense. So I kind of like to make it so I'm starting from the back, right? So there's one keeper there, and I have three center backs, because I thrive for three defender formation. I like three defender formations, and there's nothing that I like more than a three defender formation. So I like to have three defenders, and I usually drag, because it's by default it's always like this, they always in the same line or on the same line. But I like to drop him, the middle central defender, 2 steps back, like I just did there, and then these are the two guys. All right, take note of this, because this is a very important thing in this game. Like, I got to realize it's an extremely important thing in this game. All right. So in PES, the little details say a lot. The little details in PES always say a lot of things. All right. So before, when I started using this formation, I did this. I would spread these defenders as wide as possible for them to cover more ground like this. But this was quite a death note, because I eventually got to realize that my defenders could not keep the defensive line. They were just all over the place, to an extent that it would feel like I'm using maybe one defender, because these two guys, Miranda and Jamison, they would be all over the place. They could not keep track of the defensive line. And I got to realize that when you're using a 3 defender formation, make sure that you don't spread your defenders wide, but you keep them compact like this. So you see this 18 area, right? This whole 18 area, I try to put your defenders to make them fit within the 18 area like this. Try to put them as close as possible. Right, I'm gonna do it like this, where they have this black rectangles. It makes it quite easier to measure. Right, so like this, try to put them as close as possible like this. I know it might seem weird like this and make it look as if also you could easily gonna be played from the flanks, but don't worry, I'm gonna go on to that issue and tell you how you can defend the flanks. Alright, so in terms like this, so try to make sure that those defenders are compact as possible and keep them as close to each other as possible, like what I just did there. And the other thing is, so we move on to the to this defensive midfield. I like to keep him to make use one of make use of one defensive midfielder. I like to drag him to, like, I think, yeah, on the very uh last part you can keep him as a central as a defensive midfielder, and then I like to keep him there, and then I drag this guy because originally it's supposed to be a 3-2-3-2 formation, but I now use it as a 3-1 3-1-3-1 formation in this regard, right? So this central midfielder, I originally supposed to be down here, but I drag him up and put him right on the line or just below the line, like this, just below the line, like this, or like this, right, to the right side. And these guys, these wide midfielders, I like to put them, stretch them out wide as possible, because these guys play a very vital part in this formation in terms of attacking and defending. So and here is our attacking midfielder. I like to keep him on the line as well, you know, so that I have a lot of people in numbers within the midfield, so that to remind him that he is a midfielder. He's assigned to attacking duties, but he's a midfielder. And there's two strikers here. You can either drag and drop one. I always like to make one of these a second striker, and in this example, in this regard, Clivert is the best option for me among these two guys, right? So this is mainly the outlook of the formation that I use. And now to go to the tactical part. So this guy will always be the last man. That's the reason why I drag him. And these guys will obviously try to mark to support the last man, and at the same time they'll try to contain the ball in the middle and when the balls are wide, but they don't really mark wide. These two guys, Son Heung-min and Valencia, mark wide in this regard. So when you are doing your advanced formation, thanks to the advanced formation feature, these two guys, you have to make them wing back. You have to set them to advanced formation wing back. So what does wing back do? It makes these guys know that when you're out of position, they have to drop back and act like left back and right backs. So in this regard, Son Heung-min would, if I'm out of position, Son Heung-min will drop back and become virtually a left back, and Valencia will drop down and virtually become a right back, as you can see, like this. All right, so that's what happened, and these two guys will stay out front to support the team when it comes to an counter-attacking situation. And when we're in position, these guys move forward like this to become a right wing forward, and Son Heung-min ends up becoming a second striker or a left wing forward. So these two guys, these wide midfielders, play a very vital part in the formation, and this guy becomes the sole center forward, the pure center forward. Make sure that the guy you put in front is always the pure center forward, and this guy you drop behind is a center forward or a second striker that is able to play through the ball or to feed this pure center forward, and is also able to back up the center forward in terms or in regards to center forward fails to utilize the chance. It can always get to pass the ball back to the second striker so that he might finish the ball or finish it on a rebound. So this is basically the outlook. And going to the advanced formation, I like to keep it tiki-taka, and I like to assign defensive duties to my defensive midfielder to remind him that yes, you can join the team when it's in attack, but you should always be like the last player of the midfield, to an extent that you get to help the center backs and try to make it more like a full defensive formation. So when I'm out of position, it gets even worse. The team becomes a 6 defender formation to just help it, because with 3 defender formations, you're really quite prone of getting attacked from the flanks. So I manipulate this and make it eventually a 6 defender formation. And wing back, this is a very, very important part. Never leave this out. Wing back, okay, and some in the box as well. All right, this is now a matter of your own personal preference. I like to keep it some in the box because it helps me. It helps crowd the ball. Sorry, my box, and keep my box safe in terms of, those players who like dribbling a lot and dancing around and showboating within your 18. So it means that they really can't really showboat, because as soon as they beat one defender, another defender is there to mark them, and it just brings a lot of people inside your 18 area when you're out of position. Some people like to use gank and press, it's okay. And tiki taka, I like tiki taka as well. So this is all I can tell you about about Gasperini. And moving on to Nawalka, and Nawalka is very great. Look at his manager skills. This was not a natural manager skill. I invested those manager skill tokens in him, because I bought him. I think when I got him, he had like maybe 400 and something manager skill, but I invested in him to 620. But eventually, I ended up not using him that much, because I think you all know, guys. If you all know me, I'm not really a fan of a 4 defender formation, because it just opens a space in the middle for me. I like to have 3 defenders for some reason, I don't know. Anyways, yes, and alright, so I'm gonna show you now Walker's thing, how I get to use him. So he's mainly a 4-2-3-1 defender coach, but I like to treat him in this regard. Alright, so drag these dudes, try to keep them as close to each other as possible. That's one thing that I've got to understand in this game. Like this. Try to do this. Try to put them as close to each other as possible. Like this, exactly. Like this. And so I'm gonna have to drag this central defensive midfielder and make him one central defensive midfielder. And I'm gonna make this guy a central midfielder, and this guy I'm gonna put him here, and the rest of the guys I'm gonna make them cover the wings like this. Sorry, I have to rearrange my team, of course. And Kluivert is gonna go there, Shaqiri right there, Suarez I'm gonna substitute him for Van Persie in this, or I'm just gonna do this. Alright, Valencia as a right midfielder, Shaqiri, this guy has to be Shaqiri as a left midfielder. This guy has to be a central defensive midfielder. We're out of people, right? So George gets here, but I usually like to keep all my players as center backs, like this. All right, exactly like this. So this is basically my default formation. I don't like using left back and right backs, because like I said, I just don't find the use of right backs and left backs when you have wide midfielders in place. I just feel like it creates that extra redundancy, and eventually you can get beat up on the counter, because if both your left midfielder or your wing players and your right back and your backs, defensive backs attack, it means that you're gonna have 2 defenders back, and you can easily get beat by someone who uses counter-attacking football. So this is the default formation that I use when I'm using Nawalka. And going to the tactics, I usually like to use defensive midfielder on this guy, and then here I like to use wing rotation and swarm in the box, of course, swarm in the box, and dip defensive line. Maybe, yeah, dip defensive line's okay, but I really don't need, maybe in dip defensive line, just like this. So basically those are my tactics, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry, I hope you enjoyed watching the video. These are basically my tactical settings whenever I play my club. So thank you so much, guys, and thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to subscribe, and see you in the next video. Our last video got literally demonetized in 248 countries, yet there are 195 countries on this planet. So I'm not sure what YouTube are all about, but thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope this video does not get demonetized as well. Thank you so much, and take care. Have a great day.